discussion today. Mike.
All right, we're good? We're rolling?
Yeah.
All right, we'll start the Facilities Committee meeting. Today is February 27th. It is 7:12, let's call it. Here we have committee members Melanie Cunningham, Keith McCarrick, our business administrator, Dan Arizo, Director of Facility and Operations, Doug Kenwood, and our superintendent, Dr. Alan Roach. I'm your chair, JP Prego. Start with I get a motion to approve the minutes from January 23, 2022.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And it passes.
Yay.
Moving right along to old business. We can talk about our Marlboro boilers.
Yes.
What do you got, Doug?
I have some pictures.
What good news do you have, Doug?
Oh, yeah. Pictures. I've seen that before.
Um,
That looks familiar.
So, at the last Facilities Committee meeting, I mentioned that, I was seeking a second opinion on, what we could, or the direction we could head with the boilers. I went to the contractor, H.T. Lyons, that we used on the Giza project. Just a side note, we're having the end of project meeting this week, so that'll
You
be
can't
done.
come. I'm
That's
going to be
okay.
reading in Hertford.
No, that's okay.
Same time.
I don't think the agenda's real robust, but.
No.
And met them on site for a number of hours along with a burner manufacturer representative. And essentially, I forwarded it to the group. They came back with two quotes. One was for what they call a burner-only replacement, and the other was for what they call the boiler sections, or think of in these pictures, the big gray boxes. So the burners itself get you everything, all of this that you can see on the exterior of the boilers, plus the burner cone and the refractory and all of that stuff, and the burner plate that's inside the boilers as well. That quote for both of them was, I think, 113 and change. I would ask for a performance bond, so that would be another 1%. So call it 115, round numbers. If we decided that we wanted to go ahead and do a full replacement, they quoted, I believe, another. Keith, I think you have them in front of you there.
Yes, I
Was
do.
it another
It's
135 or so?
131,690, yeah, 131,695.
Right.
And I told
So
them-
essentially, it was roughly $250,000 for both boilers. I do have some questions on the proposal. I have a call scheduled with them on Wednesday of this week, particularly in the case if we decide to go with the full replacement of each. There's some exclusions on there that I wasn't real comfortable with. Like, I assume that the local codes official is going to want to see a drawing, and we're going to apply for a permit and things like that. That's an exclusion there. So I just want to work through some of those items with them. If we decide to go burners only, the nice thing about that option is that the burners are reusable. So if we decide to replace the boiler sections a year or 2, 3, whatever down the road, we pull off the old burners, we put the new sections in, and all new burners at that point. Put the new sections in and then bolt the burners back onto the sections, and away we go. So it wouldn't be good
Wasted.
money after bad. It wouldn't be wasted money. They would certainly be reusable. I think looking back at it, when I had originally there was kind of tiers of cost for this project. The one tier I was given by the Noresco sales representative, who told me to use $600,000, and that was based on the boiler replacement at 4.5 and what we paid for that ECM as part of the Giza project. But looking at that project, these boilers are much smaller. But on the other hand, we had more economies of scale during the Giza project. This would be a one-off. You certainly had, ICS and Providence overhead in addition to Noresco. Then I went back to look at the deferred ECM list and the cost associated with the deferred ECMs, and this project was 470 2 years ago.
Okay.
This approach is different, you know, in full transparency. This is if we decide to replace the sections and the burners, it's a like for like. No, it's not a guaranteed energy savings project. There's no investment grade audit. It's just going to the contractor and they're going to demo the existing equipment and put the new equipment in. You know, obviously I've had discussions with them about, you know, we're not going to start the demo until we have the new equipment in.
Right.
You know, the timing is basically I need the replacements, whether we just do burners only or the sections as well by roughly Halloween. Because remember, this building is a two-pipe system, so we're running air conditioning, basically chilled water until, well, this year is into December. But just to try to, you know.
Haven't started up yet.
Right, right. And we're in heating mode now, you know, we'll switch over to cooling sometime, well, the way
Next week?
Next week,
Yeah.
you know, when it hits 75.
Yeah, again.
You know, I was taking some time today just to sort of think about pros and cons of this project. You know, I think my recommendation would be the full replacement at this point because we could replace the burners, but I can't guarantee that something else isn't going to go wrong with the sections.
Mm-hmm.
And if we delay the sections, which we could do, like if we decide to just do, I don't know that I would lose a lot of sleep over burners only, but you know, the costs are going to go up. There's going to be mobilization again. There's going to be increased cost to take the burners off, replace the sections, put the burners on. So my recommendation is the full replacement. That being said, I wanted to talk to the contractor because I'm concerned about, you know, supply chain issues.
So you still have, one of those is still operating just below.
The burner, or the boiler on the left is running on low fire because of the refractory, which is the kind of just call it the brickwork, or the heat resistant material that's inside the boiler is compromised, so we don't want to overheat it and get hot spots and things like that.
I'm kind of with you, like, I don't know what you guys think, but I don't see much of a benefit to just doing burners only. For the
Well-
reason that you said,
Yeah.
and
And it's not 600,000.
right, it's
Mhm.
still a hard pill to swallow, but it's not nearly
It
what we
is.
thought before. And there's some details that you're still working out.
There is.
And we're, like you said, we're 32 years into these boilers.
Yeah.
We are
If they're
definitely-
like 10, 15, then maybe you say,
different.
all right, just do the burners.
Right.
We're gonna get another 10, 15 out of the, we'll call it the box, you know, guaranteed almost. but
Yep.
Yep.
We're end of life.
And some of the scope too involves, the burner manufacturer was not all that happy with how this gas line is piped
Surprise.
because of all the 90s in it. There's one,
Oh, yeah, look at 'em.
2, 3, there's 4 or 5 90s, which is not, you know, the best from an efficiency standpoint. So some of the money, small fraction, is to repipe that with more of a direct run. So that's, you know, that's where we are. Like, again, my recommendation is the full replacement. But I want to have this scoping call with HT Lyons. It would be through CoStars. They are, that's how we'll be able to procure this.
Yep, without going out to bid, yeah.
Exactly.
Um,
And you know, I'm really happy with the work that they did for the high school boilers and the 4 or 5 boilers, so I don't have any quality concerns.
Right,
My concerns are supply chain.
just getting it here,
Yeah.
you know.
And,
Yeah.
but what I may ask them is, look, you know, we're gonna have to come up with a date by which, if we don't have the sections,
We don't definitely.
we just do burners only, and then when the sections come in, you warehouse them, and then we put them in, you know, the following summer. Now, I'm sure they'll want to charge me more money for that, but
Yeah, but we can't have no heat.
we can't have, right, we can't have no heat. So that's,
Something wrong with that sentence, but okay.
right, can't have no
So
heat.
you-
That's a double negative, yes. That's a double negative, but,
Yeah, I thought that was what the problem was.
right, that's on film.
Yeah, thank you.
Now, you mentioned having a performance bond, and you mentioned something about drawings for codes.
Yes.
If you do them singular, are you saying you don't need the drawings for the codes, or you're
I
not
don't,
sure?
I don't know that the burners only would require a drawing to go to the codes official. I would certainly check that. I'm very
Okay.
transparent with
Yeah.
codes people. I don't want to,
Yeah.
have that come back.
That doesn't
Exactly.
change
I don't
us,
need
that doesn't change
surcharge.
us from a two-pipe system to a one-pipe?
Oh,
No.
no,
Okay, just
No.
asking the question out loud.
not at all. And a performance bond for a project of this size, I think is a good investment.
What's the performance bond? I'm not familiar.
Essentially, it's usually 1% of the contracting price, and it's insurance that the contractor essentially takes out on our behalf. So if there are quality issues or just performance issues, they can't staff the job, what have you, we could submit a claim against that performance bond, and their insurance company, if ruled in our favor, would have to reimburse
So if
us
there was like
costs.
stuff installed, and we had to bring in something else.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. Or we had to rent something because they couldn't staff or. Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Normally on big projects, Keith, there's a payment bond and a performance bond. Payment bond ensures that the contractor pays their subs.
Yeah.
And then the payment bond is kind of quality bond.
Okay.
All right, so I guess
I'm along the same lines as JP, do
Yeah, I
it
get
all
it.
at once if you can.
I agree with that
just
as
get
well.
the clarity that you need on the
That's
the
right.
proposal that they have, and let us know if there's any major changes or anything else we have to do.
And my thought was to try to clarify that this week, put something maybe in the board update on Friday, and if we're comfortable, then, list it for next Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we put an update saying that it's on there. We got to connect, we'll connect on Friday. If we go
Yes.
to the agenda, we'll have that on
Yeah,
there.
we'll
We can
make
give
sure it's
access
on
to
there.
that.
Right, I put a placeholder.
Yeah, you already have access, yeah.
Do we need a?
All right, I'll let you know how that,
Do you want to vote on it?
the call goes on.
I mean, I think you're
Wednesday.
obviously
I think-
what the answer is.
No,
but-
it's recommended coming out of the committee.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Okay.
good stuff.
Yeah. Now the maintenance agreement for the high school HVAC.
Yeah, so I mentioned this in the last meeting, and I had a scoping call with, it's the same company coincidentally, you can tell I'm very happy with them. But we have a similar program in place at the middle school. We have a company there that, called McClure, that comes in twice a year. They send 3-4 people, they're there for at least a week, and they go through and do preventative maintenance on all of the equipment. That, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around, but there's literally about a third of the equipment in the middle school that there is in the high school. The preventative maintenance agreement for the high school has over, I think I counted quickly, 102 pieces of equipment, including the new welding exhaust system that we put in, the dust collection system. It's very comprehensive. But it's also twice the cost. It is something that
Then the middle school.
Then the middle school. It's 38 pieces of equipment for about $24,000 at the middle school. Here, it's 102 pieces of equipment for, I think it's 48 something.
And that's
48.
a yearly cost?
It is. If there's other sort of preferred services on that quote, so if we enter into a maintenance agreement with them, we get sort of priority scheduling, we get a discounted labor rate for just repairs and things like that. So they, as a maintenance customer, you get some advantages just in general.
Want to give us a discount on boilers too?
Right.
Unfortunately, no.
No. So there is a quote in there for the boilers, but I actually have a PM program already in place for boilers. Although it's a little lukewarm about it, so we may just do a 1 year on that and go out to RFP again. But this is, significant investment over the Giza project, what, $7 million, $8 million in the high school alone.
Yeah.
We want to take care of it.
Yeah, I really do. I really want
Do the
this.
right thing with it.
My staff can do it's, you know, we're going to continue, doesn't include filters, we do filters. You know, any minor repairs, they're only in twice a year, so
Right.
there's a spring service and a fall service. The amount is included in my 23-24 budget. I just want to, like I said, be transparent about it and, you know, hopefully get your blessing to move forward with it. And now I have, you know, 2 companies in the district that, you know, compare and contrast and see how each one performs, and then hopefully, you know, standardize to one, or keep it separate. But you'd think if I give one company more business, it should be, they'd be able to be more
Better.
cost competitive.
Yeah.
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 No, I think it's smart. I think because of the investment we have in the high school, it's doing it the right way.
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
I agree.
a responsible thing to do.
I think so as well. That's why I wanted to go in this direction. And they installed it all.
Exactly.
So they, you know, their crew is familiar with the
If not, we're in trouble.
equipment and the location. So this would just be in like my 432 account, which is contracted services in my operating budget,
Okay.
you know, going forward.
So this will go on the March 9th agenda then too for the board?
It doesn't have to. It doesn't start, it wouldn't start until, you know, July. They'd come in July or August.
So school
That's their
year.
first visit, so it doesn't, it's not time sensitive, really.
Okay.
We still have to approve his budget also, so.
Oh, yeah. that's right.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
Yep.
You've got the blessing.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
Appreciate
Christmas
it.
vacation, the blessing.
That's right.
Next thing is Walk River Lane, so I'll take that one. So following our last meeting where we had some guests from Walk River Lane that were here at our meeting, I did follow with Mr. Summers in terms of the agreement. He said that although he understands the request to not have it, it would still be to the deed, it would just be for a period of time, that, you know, if that's going to help people, that we can commit to a certain time length, 6, 8, 10 years, then at that time, there'll have to be another discussion
Right,
at that time. But if that's what's going to,
but at least it's on paper. to
correct,
begin
if
with.
it's there, and then whatever it shakes out. So they had mentioned 6, I mean, 8 or 10, I don't know what they would feel comfortable with. We would probably want the longest piece to have it in place
Start with
and
10.
move forward.
Yeah.
We could start with 10 and then see where it goes from there. And the other piece that I know we talked about, and I double checked with Doug, was they were questioning, and it was the first time I heard it was at the meeting last time, was the definition of spreading the stone, right? They want a little more detail on scraping and filling the potholes and leveling and that. And I mean, Kyle was comfortable with that if that's what's needed.
Yeah,
So if everyone's okay with those 2 types of changes, and then we'll need to update it a little bit in terms of, because at that point, we were saying that if we would have gotten it signed, we would have already covered, we would have covered a little more. I'll have to reread a little bit. I mean, at this point, we really should just plan for the next one, right? I think they've handled some, I don't know if there's any outstanding bills, or I think one of the families finished paying the bill,
okay.
or we can just leave the parameters in there. I think we had agreed to pay the whole, the entire bill for the rock or the stone, this current time, which was, what was that? It's almost a year now, right?
It's been, yeah, I keep getting reminders coming up.
And that was, the offer to cover the full cost of the stone was, again, to kind of cover our half, plus they had already paid an outside contractor to spread it.
Right.
So that covering the rock would have covered what we had already promised, like our half of our rock, and kind of covered that back. We weren't going to deal with this outside contractor. Moving forward, it would be, is it every 2 years? Or is it as needed? I'm trying to remember what it was. It would be the half of the rock.
It's every other year.
Every other year, right? So half the rock, and then Doug would work with one of our in-house, or however he would handle contracting, and if that's what it needed at the time, to do the spreading and the leveling and all that. So that was the follow-up. I felt like it was, I told Kyle it's probably what we're gonna do, but I just wanted to bring it back and follow it and get it back. If we can get it to him here mid-March,
Good,
hopefully we can hear back. So that's the plan.
sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Yep.
Good plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
Yep.
That's right. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. Moving on to new business. So 4-5 Center Playground reno.
So an item I have in this calendar year's budget was money to add swings
Yeah.
to 4-5. And I went out and got a quote from George Eli and Associates, who's done all the work in our district, at least in my tenure. I'll pull up a picture here just so you have an orientation. It's a Google Earth.
Okay.
So essentially, what
In my mind, yeah.
the plan is to add the swings about right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously put in the required safety surfacing. I think it's 6 feet this way, 6 feet that way, and twice the height of the swings front and back.
Okay.
The thought would be to do this, basically as soon as school is out in June. And there was an option on the quote. If you can see this sort of tan area here, that surface is actually a rubberized safety surface. This area here where my pointer is basically a muddy mess. And what's happening is all of that mud is getting tracked into the school,
Oh.
which is adding
Not good.
significant custodial load to the custodians, particularly on the first floor when they first come in. One of the things we talked about was excavating this out and putting the fabric and stone for the drainage and then the mulch on top to hopefully alleviate that problem.
Makes sense.
Fortunately, the swings and that optional excavation around the rubberized surface is still within my budget.
Oh, good, good.
I think I budgeted 45,000 in my, I think it was 450, maybe my construction. It came in at like 41
Wonderful.
to do all of that work. So,
CoStar
I'd like to
don't
make
have
the
bid.
improvement. I think, adding a set of swings there for the kids would be a great addition and solve the
Just don't want to put macadam down all around, and then you don't have to worry about,
The mud
mulch
issue.
or anything being trucked into the school.
Then we have impervious surfaces we have to think about. Yeah.
right.
There's always something.
So that's.
I think that's a great idea.
Is that mulch
I
that's
can-
put down, so we have to like replace yearly or?
We do every summer. We buy
Fluff it up and-
Yeah.
the.
Yeah.
That shouldn't add too much cost though to
No.
the normal.
Yeah. get
So
rid of
this,
it.
if you.
Yeah.
Oops.
That's not big.
So the path is up this way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the swings will go here, and then this area is, see where it says optional, sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Optional
Yeah.
areas to be excavated, stone, fabric, and mulch reinstalled. That's the $8,000 add-on.
Addition.
But the combined, or the combination of the two projects is still within what I budgeted for this year, so
You said you budgeted 45?
45.
And we're at 41.
We're about, 41 and change, so.
Okay. I think it's
Give
great.
some
Yeah.
back.
Ew.
Yeah, so I just wanted to, that's, just more of a.
That's a nice improvement.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it
it
is
is.
as well. I
That's a
think
good
that it'll help just the general kind of corralling of the students and keep them in this, general area of the basketball.
Community will enjoy it.
Yes, they will, I'm sure. I'm sure they will.
Yeah, we've had some damage recently, and I find myself ordering parts for this set here. And Unfortunately, we have to sweep the playground for things that shouldn't be there on occasion.
That figures.
Yeah. So that's 4-5.
Cool.
The next one is Hereford. That's a little bit of a, not quite as straightforward. So Keith and Melanie, you probably recall, or actually probably all three of you, when the PTFS and
Yeah.
Mr. Freeze came. So we've been going back and forth with Play World, George Eli and Associates on Hereford's potential renovation. What they're proposing, and I'll show you some pictures, is, if you recall, the swing sets at Hereford are sort of way off in the distance, and I'll show you pictures of that. And that issue was one primarily of supervision.
Right.
Those kids are way off by the circle, not anywhere near the current playground or macadam. So the idea would be to add these swing sets, bump the safety surfacing out and add swing sets here and replace 3 pieces of equipment with a new play set here. Let me just show you some pictures quick, just so you can orientate yourself.
There we go.
It's a little dark, isn't it? No, there might be better ones too. I'll get it. So this is the left side of the playground. So essentially the proposal is to, this play set here is showing its age and needs some work, and it's also not sort of up to today's standards in terms of rung spacing and things like that. George Eli basically said this teal climber and this yellow climber, all 3 of these would be demoed, and we increase this out here. We put the swings in this area here, and then put a larger play set right here.
Okay.
This would remain. This climber would remain, and this rock wall would remain. This zip line piece of equipment would be demoed, and we would bump this out here for more swings.
Okay.
That scope of work came in at about $98,000.
Just like about 100,000, I bet.
Let me go on to another picture. This is the current swing sets, and you can see, there's a better picture than this, but you can see that they're off in the distance.
Yeah.
So
Were
here's,
you flying a drone for these ones?
I was. So you can see the distance between the current playground and there's another
Yeah.
swing set over
Yeah, that's
here.
too far away.
This is the right side. This dome climber is proposed to stay. They added an option for this rope climber to remove that and replace it with a new one,
That's
which is another $27,000.
Dude, I know.
Just for that piece?
Yeah. So we're at about 125. What I didn't see on the quote was, here's an up-close picture of this rope climber. The only real issue with this, unfortunately, is that, I don't know if you can see it in the picture, this is all steel,
Oh.
and it's covered by like a rope type material,
Oh.
but it's wearing through to where the steel is exposed.
Oh.
And I've talked to a couple different, and there's unfortunately no way to fix it. But the kids
Surprise.
love the piece, they love that piece, so the quote was to take it out and replace it. Here's another picture of the swings off in the distance. The quote didn't include demolition of the existing swings, and it didn't include any improvements to this safety surfacing. They proposed to excavate and put the fabric and stone and wear mats under the swings, both sets, but there was no mention of any improvements to the existing
That's just wood
surface.
chips right there, basically?
But
It's
Decades
hours.
of, yeah, and what happens is they actually decay because we don't have the proper drainage here. So they stay wet and they decay, and we keep adding to them. Every
Right.
year we add and add and add, because you're supposed to have an inch of wood chips, and it's really safety mulch, but wood chips for every foot of fall height. So if a student could fall 6 feet off of a piece of equipment, you need 6 inches of cushioning.
well, if they're removing that, they didn't have any plans to like redo any of it, they were just gonna
Right.
remove it.
That's what gave me pause. I don't, in good conscience, I don't think, if there's an opportunity to improve the safety of this surface, I think we should at least entertain that and see what that looks like.
Did we have an idea what PTFS is gonna pitch into it?
Yep, I talked to Mr. Freeze today, and they're looking to contribute the same percentage that PTFS at Marlboro contributed. Not the same dollar amount, but the same percentage. So at Marlboro, the cost was,
We're 90 something?
I thought, no, we were up,
More than that?
we were up at 148,000 at Marlboro in total. And that included all of the demo. Remember, there were 2
Yep.
playgrounds.
Oh, that's right, yep.
And PTFS contributed 20,000, so it was about 13.5%. So I believe that's what the Hereford PTFS is looking to contribute, 13.5%.
Regardless of what options we go with, like if we decide to redo that thing, add the other 25, if we decide, I'm not saying we're gonna do this, but
Yeah.
do the whole surface, that's gonna add another, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be,
25?
yeah, this
You know,
could be
yeah.
150, 160 when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
Did you price out that sheet metal slide we talked about?
The sheet metal, right, one that you just scrape going down. Unless you put some, what is that, something, Pam on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Those were the good old days.
So,
That's what toughened us up.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So this is more of just an update. I'm not at all comfortable bringing forward a recommendation at this point.
Yeah, that is a lot.
They did do the drawing and the pricing. I think I actually have the pricing here, but. Yeah, so it was 98. You can see here it says, surfacing for expansion areas only.
Wow,
So that, I picked that up, that gave me some pause.
yeah.
Here's the demolition of the existing road climber and put a new climber in, that's 27. So this is about 125, and I don't see any mention of demolition of the old swings
Yeah.
or any improvements to the surface. So I want to continue to work on this. The sort of the rub is, I have 150 in my capital budget for next school year for this project, but unless we can get going quickly, ideally I'd like, if we decide to do something, have it done in July and August.
Right.
The budget flips over and we can use that, I'm not sure we're gonna make it from a supply chain, procurement perspective.
Not even for playground equipment.
Well, we'll see. I have a call with him at the end of the week.
Okay.
The slide's available.
Right.
Yeah,
the slides.
exactly.
I talked to Mr.
That's
Freeze
ready.
about the option of, if it slips a month or two, I hate to do it, but is it better to close the playground while the
Right.
kids are there in September or October for 4 weeks or 5 weeks, or wait until the
Till
following
next
summer?
Don't do that to the teachers, don't.
Yeah, right.
Uh,
That is scary.
I'm thinking probably wait, but that's,
Yeah,
This is.
that's a decision that's
The.
more school-based than Westwood.
Same company that's gonna do 4 or 5?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bake sales and car washes.
Yep, definitely.
Gonna have to come back.
Yes.
Can you check on the supply chain? Can you check with?
Yeah, I have, actually, I'm going to have a call with him this week as well, because I just want to understand if we were to get you a PO in April, say, could we make it, for July and August
Right.
or not?
Okay.
So what do you think the demo of the swing sets, the existing swing sets would?
I look back, the demo of everything at Marlboro was just under 10,000.
Do we even have to, can't we just take the swings off and leave the sticks there for now?
I
You
guess
know
you
what I
could, you could.
I mean, they're far enough away that it's not
Right.
like kids will be climbing on them because
Yeah.
they're that far away.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. during
I think
school.
what the expensive thing is going to be is, excavating the existing
Yeah.
surface, discarding all of that, decades of mulch. It's probably great soil under there.
Probably,
Uh,
probably oil under there.
Bet you're
And
gonna
then-
find a ton of worms.
And then,
Yeah.
the fabric and the stone and
Go fishing in the lagoon.
then
Well, actually, if you
the
make it a
safety
community
mulch.
project, have the fire companies come in and cut down the metal using their jaws of life and stuff
Right.
like that.
Could be good
Have somebody
practice.
else excavate the cement footers,
Yeah.
and then turn it into a community garden until that.
We're all the Eagle Scouts we needed, right?
Yeah, right.
That's right.
There was just one, oh no, that was
Right.
an Eagle girl.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more work on this one, so. I'll
I'm
have
sure the
fun.
answer is,
Yeah,
I'm sure the answer is no, but is there anything we can do in-house? Probably not. It's all specialized.
Yeah, maybe some of the demo, possibly.
Yeah. I like Melanie's idea about just taking the swings off and
Yeah,
just let that alone for now. 'Cause
yeah,
who's
at least
gonna-
it's something
Yeah,
for now.
Yeah, I would definitely want to render it
yeah.
inoperable.
Useless,
Yeah,
yeah.
Because you wouldn't want.
More useless than
liability
it is, yeah.
of Not maintaining that area. But,
Yeah.
And they're co-stars as well. That's how so they put the 4-5 playground in as well.
Yes.
Back in
Okay.
2019.
I'm just picturing taking swings off and leaving that and then having the liability of anybody who's on the property, even outside of school hours. I'm climbing on the top of that thing. See,
Well, but
Yeah.
Crisco,
Grease the poles.
Ah,
Crisco,
yeah, I like it.
It doesn't work.
I like it.
only in Philly.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I'm more disappointed about the zip line. I mean, that's quite a ride. It's,
Yeah. Gee.
Yeah, they don't.
I'll have to go check it out.
So Dan, would you
Yeah.
feel better if we took the swings off and put signage there, no trespassing? At least to cover us liability-wise.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes a little bit, that covers us a little bit more. I mean, I think even with the signage, we still find ourselves in some sort of issue, as far
You
as the
didn't educate
liability.
the
But
kid well enough to read.
again, it's a little different at that building too, where it doesn't quite have the foot traffic
That's true, that's very
at
true.
that building that does
Yeah.
other
Like
workouts.
Are,
You have to drive to get there.
are you worried about the deer? I mean,
They
Who's
don't
playing
climb
out
really
there?
well.
That's right.
Squirrels, yes.
So I'll have another update at the next facilities committee meeting for this.
Okay.
but, sorry, I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but Dan, what's the difference if we took the swings off and rendered it useless as opposed to keeping the swings there until we figure out what to do with it? It's still, an open nuisance. So, I just,
It may be no different. I mean,
Yeah.
just from I don't know, for me personally, I'm just thinking from an optics perspective, I go, all right, there's swings, I'm supposed to swing on it. There's no swings,
Supposed to.
I'm supposed to climb it. I mean, that's me just being me. I mean,
yeah.
just from-
Yeah, you have a point. I mean, you have to think of everything.
All right,
Okay.
okay, to be continued.
Staying in Bedford.
Yes.
Courtyard tree removal.
Oh, boy.
So we have these
okay.
two lovely trees in the, next to the rain chain in the Hereford courtyard. And I was contacted by Mr. Freeze and Tom Gillish,
Yeah.
flight teacher, I believe,
Yeah.
at Hereford. They're interested in having those taken down
You think?
in favor of making that some type of bed, flowers, something a little more aesthetically pleasing. They are
Yeah.
not exactly.
Who are they dedicated to? Probably somebody.
Well, I can check that, but I don't.
No, it's fine. It
What
was
kind
rhetorical.
of trees are they?
Ugly?
To be
wood
honest,
ones.
I'm not even sure.
It's like brick.
I don't know.
this is being recorded.
It's okay, it doesn't matter.
There's one in every crowd.
Yeah.
So the idea is, you can see there's a bed there with the brick wall, and they want to make that into something, aesthetically pleasing, and ask that the trees be taken out this summer.
Excavated and make it a koi pond.
Yeah, there you go. Cement
That's
core.
something we can do?
Oh, sure, we would do that in-house, absolutely. It's more just, I just
Good.
wanted to run it by the
Yeah.
committee and
Right.
make sure that there's,
It's up on the ground.
Yeah, we're good with
there's
that.
no,
It
Yeah,
seemed
that
like the
courtyard-
branches looked like they were taken off.
there's
already.
been
Yeah.
some,
Pruning?
Yes.
That
I guess
court-
we call it pruning.
I haven't been up there in a while, Doug, but that courtyard in general, the last time I was up there, which was a while ago, it was not very nice looking.
No.
No, they have been working on it.
Okay.
I have to give, there's a small greenhouse in there.
Yeah.
It is getting more attention, which is great to see.
What's the chain in front of the window?
This is a rain chain.
Oh, the rain chain.
A rain chain?
Yeah, that's
So-
pretty cool.
This is like a roof drain here, and the water traverses down this rain chain.
And John's whatever was planted.
That's all I
there
know, that's all I know
first
about
time.
it.
Was that
He's more
Norma,
than that.
was that for Norma?
I think there's, to be honest with you, now that I'm looking at it, I believe there's some kind of,
Yeah, but.
There it is.
Something there.
there's
Told
something
you.
there, so I'll have to recon that and figure out what that says.
Yep.
Now, is that a wooden deck in front of that?
Yes.
Performance stage.
Yeah. Why is that a wooden deck in front of that? That's it.
Yeah, there is over on this side, there's a fountain that's operable. You can see they painted, they're trying to, add some color and
Trying to liven it up.
make it a
Yeah.
place that, classes
proud
can
of.
go out. And what's nice is it's contained,
Right.
so you're not,
Is that on the back half of the building, or?
It's right off the back of the library, it's in the middle. It's kind of like in between the rotunda area and
Okay.
the library as you're heading. There's two sides or entrances.
yeah, these are, I think, library windows.
Yeah, those are probably library
Yeah.
windows, yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's going to go-
I just need to understand from Mr. Gillish what the plans are in there and make sure there are plans for ongoing maintenance.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that looked nice.
Not love it and
Yeah,
not leave it.
as long- right,
As
as
long as it's
Yes.
maintained, yeah.
Exactly,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay,
Okay,
Alright.
good enough.
moving right along.
Last thing.
Ending on a positive note
Yeah.
there.
The
Tennis
next
court
one
tennis.
is certainly a bummer.
No.
Tennis
what?
courts.
So we had, if
Interesting.
you recall, back in the summer of 2020, we had the whole issue of the clay balls and the asphalt, and they were basically making pock marks all over the court.
Yep.
We brought a company in, Brenneman and Company, and they drilled out as many as they could, did some crack repair, and resurfaced the courts, and I thought they looked amazing.
Yep, they
It was
did.
one of the nicer venues we had at the high school. Sometime this winter, unfortunately, we developed cracks in,
Well,
Yeah.
this is actually one of the smaller cracks. There's one crack that's contained to one cord that's about 12 feet long or so. And this area right here at the bottom was a previous crack repair back in 2020. And he was actually, Mr. Kurzweg and I met with him again today to try to understand and come up with a plan to address this. Essentially, the crack expanded. They repaired it, and it's the coating that they use to repair it, it gets these little, we call them microfractures, because as the asphalt moves, it's designed to crack a little bit so it doesn't open up again, essentially. So the limits of the previous repair was here, and then it just continued to crack.
Yikes.
This is the big one.
Oh.
This one's about 100 feet long.
oh,
That's so sad.
Covers 4 courts.
They covered, yep.
It's a
Yeah.
little bit on 1, all of 2, all of 3, a
Unbelievable.
little bit on 4.
do we know why?
I'll show you a video.
Oh.
Essentially, by research, the asphalt over time loses its flexibility. And then when you get, crystal ball, I think this may have happened on Christmas weekend.
Okay, so cold.
Oh.
With the 5 degrees for 48 hours, I'm wondering if this
I
happened
was thinking
then.
It's like the San Andreas Fault.
That's awful.
Although when we looked at this, we believe this is actually on a paving seam.
Okay.
Ah.
Well, this is kind of strange.
It's straight as an arrow
Yeah.
when you look at it, because the way it was explained to me, they pave in 11 or 12 feet patterns, or that. So they start basically where the net is and go 11 or 12 feet, the seam 11 or 12 feet, and this he believes that that's right along a seam. It just kind of continues.
Forever.
This is just a close-up of, I put my longer key in there, and it goes. It's at least 2 inches deep. It's into the, probably the sub base.
It's when the high school broke off and fell into the reservoirs. That's what's happening there.
Right.
Can they
So
use
there-
it, can they use it this spring?
Yes, we believe they can. I'm waiting for John Williamson to look at it and
I was out to see it, I didn't think it was, you didn't really feel any rough spots, it was still fairly smooth.
It is very
Crack.
smooth.
Who's Sean Williamson?
Tennis coach.
Tennis
coach.
Yeah.
Please tell me there's a fix.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, so let me just play this for the group here quick.
Like, you know, caulk
Yep.
or something.
If I can just get it to hold on.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Hold on.
That's the bad part of YouTube, you didn't see you're using it, you're on the right-hand side.
What's
Like
that?
Doug had the bachelor up there.
I did
Oh.
that.
It's good to know.
There we go.
Most tennis courts are constructed of asphalt because compared to other materials, asphalt is readily available and relatively inexpensive. Once painted, asphalt makes for an ideal tennis court surface. Unfortunately, the most common problem with asphalt tennis courts is that they crack.
Not that big.
Cracking is caused in part by asphalt's natural tendency to shrink as it weathers and ages. In addition, asphalt loses its flexibility, becoming more brittle over time.
It doesn't look like that.
Outdoor tennis courts are also exposed to temperatures that cause expansion and contraction. Cracking is inevitable,
Ooh.
almost without exception. Once a crack is developed, further damage can occur if the crack is left open and fills with rainwater. The water freezes in the winter, causing the slabs to spread further, resulting in a much wider crack. For the longest lasting crack repair on the market, use the one and only Arbor Tennis Court Crack Repair System.
There you go.
There it is.
So that was the system that we did use back in 2020. So we met with him today, actually, and there's two options. One is to fill those cracks with like a dry, fine sand, and then to put a rubber color match material in it and wait, basically, to see if it gets any worse. The other option is to apply this armor crack system. And and there's videos on it, I can send you a link to it. But it's a multi-step, like fabric, and it's a pretty involved process. The problem is, you know, you have to then seal over top of it so that, you know, we're gonna have color mismatches and they would try to get it as level as possible, but it may have a little bit of
A wave.
a wave, that's probably, yeah, better, more so than a ridge. So we went back and forth, back and forth. We actually talked about if we were gonna apply this armor system to essentially go 20, 30 feet or more beyond the limits of the crack, hoping to
Head it off at the pass.
head it off at the pass and not have it crack the full length of the courts. But we came full circle, and his recommendation was to essentially get through this season. He needs warm weather, so in May or June to do the rubber color match sort of membrane in the crack and see how we do, basically. He said, Doug, we can always come back, you know, next year and put the the armor system on it. But he says, and he waffled a little bit. Originally, it was we're gonna do this system, but then we started to talk about color and how smooth it was gonna be, and he changed his mind. He said, I'd rather see, let's go one more winter, let's fill it, because you don't want water getting in and freeze thaw and all of that. Apparently, it would match from a color perspective, the green and the white and the blue,
That's good.
and then see how we do next winter.
Well, what does that cost?
I don't think the rubber would be all that expensive. He's gonna get me a quote, we just met today.
Okay, okay.
Just we spent $46,000 back in the summer
I
of
couldn't remember, it was
2020.
a lot.
But we did the entire surface.
Right.
With the crack repair, so, I don't know.
You should have left those tennis courts at 4-5. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I was gonna say, let's sell those Italian benches at the middle school.
I'm fine with that. I'll put them up on
So,
eBay.
you know, I'll certainly share out the quote when it comes in. You know, I don't, again, like the boilers, I don't think it hurts to get another opinion,
Okay.
to see, you know,
Yep.
what I did kind of calling a favor from Barry Isaac and had one of their geotechnical engineers come out. He was suggesting doing core samples and all sorts of sort of invasive or destructive things to try to figure out what the subbase is and the composition of the asphalt. And
Yeah, the tennis
as
courts.
common as this is, and actually, if you go into the parking lot at the high school, it's cracked. You can see the same phenomenon, it's just you don't play tennis on it. You know?
Yeah.
Did the,
I just don't think going to the engineering to try to figure out, I
Yeah.
think that's not going well.
I don't think that's gonna help.
at this point, no.
No.
But the gentleman that you're talking to, talk about doing the rubber fill,
Mhm.
did he say anything, I don't know if like, this is his area of expertise or anything like that, but did he mention anything about like, that long crack that we're looking at, finishing the crack all the way to the edge of the court on both sides?
Make
Like,
an expansion joint sort of.
basically, yeah, because we know it's trying to crack, we know it's trying to separate now.
Right.
Like, if we finish the crack and then fill that in with the rubber, does that give us, I guess, maybe more hope for less movement
It'll
or
hold each
future
end
damage?
filled in.
Yeah, he
so-
definitely recommended, once we do the armor crack repair, is extending the, I don't know if they have another video on here or not. But here's the video on how the system works.
With the Armor Crack Repair System, court contractors no longer need to worry about the reappearance of tennis court cracks. That's because Armor Crack Repair System utilizes its proprietary slip sheet technology. A knitted fabric is applied to the area of the crack that will expand as the cracks widen. The secret to making this repair last is how it is purposely not bonded to the cord in the vicinity of the crack, thereby allowing more of the fabric to absorb any movement or growth of the crack without the fabric tearing or delaminating from the surface. The reason armor works so well is that it effectively spreads the stress of the crack over a wide area of expandable fabric.
Right after we first time we fell in love with it, we put it down, it covered up the crack, and we've had great success with it. It lasts, it stays, the cracks don't come back.
There is not another crack repair system for tennis courts in the world that has achieved the success of the Armor Crack Repair System. The one and only Armor Tennis Court Crack Repair System.
Kind of makes sense.
That's good. So apparently this is a relatively new over the last number of years that never used to have anything they could do other than this, he was saying something about a concrete mixture and so this is option A. Option B, which he tend to turn towards as the conversation progressed, was just take fill it and then take a wait and see approach through another winter and see where we end up.
So that happens.
I don't know, I'm on the fence, but,
Yeah, guess we'll have to wait and see what it costs too.
yeah, I don't think the sand and the color matched rubber is gonna be very expensive. And he said that would be smooth, you wouldn't be able to tell that there wouldn't be a ridge or a hump or anything there.
Okay.
so.
All right. I've been thinking about that every day.
Yeah,
Oh,
it was very
spend all that
disappointing.
money to make it better.
I guess my only concern would be is if we fix it and there's a ridge, is there a liability aspect if the kid is playing and trips over the ridge or the imperfection in the court?
Well, it can't be any worse than it was before. True.
Well, and would we get challenged when we're in competition by the visiting team
Mhm.
saying there's a disadvantage
Right,
or,
yeah. I don't, it's a good question, Peg. That's why I was, hoping Mr. Williamson
Yeah.
can look at it and
Yeah.
consult with whoever he talks to and give it, help us just with the decision-making process.
Okay.
Yeah, let us know what he says when he comes back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep, absolutely.
We'll have to figure it out from there.
Yep,
Okay. Thank you, Doug.
yep,
Appreciate it as always.
yep.
Yeah, I didn't know if anyone had any other ad hoc items. We have a meeting this week just to close out the Giza project.
Are we, how are we on the roof at 4-5 project?
Yeah, so that's, the agreement's in place, the roofing consultant's reviewing all of their submittals.
Okay.
So, June 15th-ish, maybe even earlier if we don't, knock on some
Yeah,
kind of-
don't knock.
if we don't
Don't
get
say
any
that.
snow days.
Oh, I love that.
There's a,
Roads are getting bad out there, just told.
really?
Really?
Oh, I said be careful coming home.
Oh, for goodness sake.
Then it's due to start
Great.
right as school ends, and it's, I think we get them 45 days.
Alan, you can crash my house if you need to.
So
Yeah.
I don't want to crash at all.
No,
So that's going to happen this summer, definitely.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
They also did, and we'll save that for another meeting, they did drone roof surveys of all of our buildings for us with an infrared camera, which basically picks up wet insulation. The theory is that if there's wet insulation, the sun beats down on it, heats up the water, then they come back at night where the roof itself has cooled off, but the water is still warm.
Yeah.
And then when they put the drone up with the infrared camera, you can see, light spots where there's wet insolation. And I'll just,
Oh, great. Wonderful.
spoiler alert, we have more issues at
Yeah.
4-5.
Oh, God.
On that note,
Yeah.
On that So you'll see some money in my capital budget for another round of 4 or 5 roofs.
Right. Okay.
All right?
Any other comments from
No.
committee members?
Yep. Let's get everybody. home
Audience?
safe.
Oh, that was enough.
That was enough, all
That was good
right.
enough.
Let's entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Everybody be careful going through.
Yeah, drive safe.
Yep.
As it was, 4:30 and the cashier's checking me out.